Personalized mattresses to fit your unique body type and sleep preferences and give you the best sleep of your life. Go to helixsleep.com and get up to $200 off mattress orders.
8:38 in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, Jim Talamonte.
In Woodstock, a major crash this morning has southbound 14 closed from Dean Street to Lake Avenue, and southbound 47 is blocked as well from Lake to 14. Downtown Chicago on westbound Ida B. Wells to the outbound Eisenhower, the roadway is down to one lane from Wells to the Burn Circle till 10 this morning. Also, the ramp to the outbound Kennedy is blocked, and so is access to the outbound Ike from Lower Wacker. On the inbound Eisenhower, delays start at North Avenue. The travel time is 40 minutes from 390 to downtown. On the Kennedy, looking at 25 minutes, O'Hare to downtown. Stevenson runs 31 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. That's traffic. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. A milder day. Clouds have given way to sunshine already. High 47. Currently 34. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com.
Let freedom ring this afternoon at 2 with Sean Hannity on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. The Chicago Teachers Union has gone from calling people who support reopening the schools, which, by the way, is the consensus of the scientific community, misogynists, racists, and bigots, to now, and a real mark of innovation here, I'm impressed, threatening to go on strike even while schools are shut down.
Yes.
This is how innovative the Chicago Teachers Unions are, how good they are at conditioning their work.
So I got the internal email sent out to the CTU. It says CTU said that they have we filed an unfair labor lawsuit against the board. However, they're asking everyone to wear red Friday. Yes, even from home. Smiley face. They're planning a COVID-safe car caravan on Saturday, December 12th. More details to come. And we're also asking for teachers to prepare for a possible strike if CPS continues to insist that staff return to unsafe schools. We'll have more details next week after the HOD meeting.
If they meant unsafe schools because the political leadership of the city has turned over the streets to the mob, and so not even the schools are safe, that would be one thing. But of course, they're talking about COVID, and these are super essential workers. Remember, the taxonomy of jobs in COVID 2020 America are the non-essential workers. These are people who are not allowed to work in the private sector. Mm-hmm. Then you got your essential workers. These are people who work for pay in the private sector and are allowed to by the government. And then you've got your super essential workers, and these are the people that can choose to work or not work, and they get paid regardless. And of course, that's in the public sector, including our heroes like the Chicago Teachers Unionists. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by DeAngelis, Director of School Choice at the Reason Foundation. He's also an adjunct scholar at the Cato Institute. Corey, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
You know, I thought it was impressive when the L.A. Teachers Union said that in order for them to return to work, that we'd have to pass a Green New Deal and so on and so forth. I thought that was really innovative, but I think Chicago has done L.A. one better by going on strike while not in the classroom.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. And this past year in Chicago, the public schools spent around $22,000 per child. And for what, if they're not even in person teaching children? And I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said that we've seen a different response from the private sector, right? The private schools are fighting to reopen, or they've been open for a long time already. And in some places, they're actually taking the governors to the Supreme Court in Kentucky, for example, to try to fight to reopen to meet the needs of their customers, where the public schools and the teachers unions in so many places are fighting to remain closed because they get your money regardless of whether they open their doors. So of course they're going to fight to remain closed.
So the teachers union, they've some demands, because there was always a list of demands. They want vaccines, they want screenings, they want contact tracing, and so it sounds like they're not going to go back to school at all until everyone's vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing pushes all across the country. I mean, the Fairfax Education Association, for example, started a petition to keep schools closed until August 2021. So we're seeing this kind of action all across the country, and they're using their power dynamic that they have in the K-12 public education system and their influence to prevent the schools from reopening for in-person instruction. I mean, we're seeing, again, all of these other businesses are open. Why can't the schools reopen, especially when they're serving a customer base which tends to be at a lower risk than the general population? I mean, we have data coming out from UNICEF from 191 different countries finding no significant link or consistent link between reopening schools and transmission of the virus. You have Anthony Fauci even admitting this just a week or two ago. CDC director says schools can reopen safely. It's just that you have a certain special interest that profits from keeping the doors closed. So that's what they're fighting for, despite the science saying that it's okay to open the schools.
As you survey the landscape when it comes to parents and the parental response, are you seeing pushback? Are you seeing any revolt from parents, even one-off case studies like Max Public House in Staten Island when it comes to bars and restaurants? Because I'm just not seeing as much pushback from parents as I would have anticipated, given what the scientific community is saying and what the teachers' unions are saying.
You would expect more, but there was a protest in New York City, for example, when Bill de Blasio decided to close the school. So we're seeing some pushback from parents. We're seeing it on social media as well. And we're seeing in the latest nationwide survey on this from Real Clear Opinion Research that support for school choice initiatives is actually going up a lot. Just in the last couple of months, it's risen by about 10 percentage points, from 67% support to 77% support of initiatives that fund students instead of buildings. And it makes a lot of sense, right? Because families are seeing that the public school system just isn't there for them this year. So people who wouldn't have normally supported things like school choice are now turning to school choice because they're seeing that they're getting the short end of the stick. They're getting a bad deal, and the public schools aren't reopening, and they're getting to keep their children's education dollars despite not providing that in-person instruction. The way I like to put it is that if a grocery store doesn't reopen, families can take their money elsewhere, even if they're using a taxpayer-funded program like food stamps. If Walmart doesn't reopen, you could take that money to Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. Similarly, if your local school doesn't reopen, families should be able to take their children's education dollars elsewhere, because the money's supposed to be about educating the child. It's not supposed to be meant for propping up and protecting this government monopoly.
My hope is that not only are parents seeing that these government schools are not there for them and their kids, is that they're seeing just exactly what the teachers union, maybe not every teacher, of course not every teacher, but the teachers union writ large, the orthodoxy it imposes, and what they actually really think of parents as it pertains to their kids' education. Basically, I'm suggesting that they think parents are a nuisance, not an ally.
Yeah, I mean, in the private sector, when you have competition, the customer is always right. In the government sector, when you have a monopoly, the customer is always wrong, and they're just a nuisance. And we're seeing that this year as well. But even though parents aren't protesting a lot in public, they are doing a somewhat of a quiet protest in that they're unenrolling their children from the public school system in large numbers. All across the country, we're seeing enrollment drops from anywhere from 3 to 9%. Millions and millions of families are leaving the public school system. And there's a lot of reasons for that, right? They're going to homeschooling, they're paying for private school tuition and fees out of pocket. But it could be that they're also seeing just the inability of the public school monopoly in so many places to meet the needs of their children. They're also getting a look through remote learning at a lot of the political indoctrination that's going on in some classrooms.
And a lot of people, too, are moving out of state. And not just, athletes that need to get college scholarships, but just parents that have had enough with all these lockdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. People are moving around, and I think one of the silver linings of this pandemic is that families are re-envisioning, one, the factory model of schooling itself, but then also, more importantly, how we finance education. The buildings aren't opening. They're still getting your child's dollars. We don't do that with essentially any other taxpayer-funded initiatives. Just think about Pell Grants and the GI Bill for higher education. The funding goes to the person, and the student can take the money to a public or private university of their choosing. Same thing with pre-K programs like Head Start and other state-funded pre-K programs. Same thing with food stamps. The money goes to the family. Family can choose to take that money to any different provider of the service. It's only when it comes to K through 12 education, it seems, that the money goes to a building regardless of the choice of the individual family. All I'm arguing, and I think that a lot of people are waking up to, is that there's no good reason to fund those institutions when you can fund the students directly instead, just like we do with so many other programs.
Agree with that, and that survey research you mentioned about the 10-point bump in support for school choice, that is encouraging in addition to what we're seeing people actually do. He's Corey DeAngelis, Director of School Choice at the Reason Foundation. He's also an adjunct scholar at the Cato Institute. Corey, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Let's say you've decided to build a bicycle from scratch. Sounds like an impossible project for my skills. But let's say you've got the skills and you're building this bike, and I offer you an advantage, a special tool that would help you build the bike faster while saving you legitimate money. My guess is you'd say, bring it on. If you wouldn't, well then this commercial isn't going to make much sense. My name is Ryan, I'm from United Faith Mortgage, and we believe we have an advantageous tool for you. Our mortgage team is lucky to have a direct lender advantage. Our company is set up to use its own money and make its own lending decisions within its own walls. There's no middleman. And often, this advantage allows us to get your refinance or new home loan done faster and get you a better rate, which saves you monthly and lifelong money. Rates are historically low. Now is the time to see how our special tool might work for you. We are United Faith Mortgage.
United Mortgage Corp, Melville, New York. NMLS number 1330. Ryan Vrecka, NMLS number 65233. For all licensing information, go to nmlsconsumeraccess.org.
Remember, oftentimes the best defense our body has against getting sick is having a strong, healthy immune system, and that's why I take Balance of Nature to keep my immune system strong. I recently got my mom some Balance of Nature, and 3 months in, she's feeling more energy, sleeping better at night. It's been really good. And Peyton and Eli take it. Dan, you got to start taking it too, okay? Dan?
Whatever you say.
Okay. It's 6 capsules. You're getting 10 servings of 31 different fruits and veggies. And you hear stories all the time on this station about how people's lives have changed. Those aren't actors. Those are real, satisfied, happy customers of Balance of Nature. So make a commitment to yourself for better health. Here's the number to call, 800-246-8751, 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago or go to balanceofnature.com, discount code Chicago.
If you owe back taxes, there's a lot you need to know, starting with rule number 1. Don't mess with the IRS. They are cracking down this year by sending out heart-stopping letters, actively garnishing paychecks, levying bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. That's all true. But it's also true there's a